What's up, everybody? Welcome to the channel. Afternoon fishing out here in sunny San Diego. We had some rain this morning and then it's been sunny for most of the day, so it's technically a post front day. We got a lot of wind right now too, so probably gonna start off with some reaction baits. I anticipate it being pretty tough until maybe the sun starts to go down a little bit. We still got some high sun right now, so I have a feeling with these post front conditions with that wind and sun, might be a little tough, but I'm hoping that once that sun starts to go down, the bite will pick up and we'll be able to put a decent little video together for you guys. I don't know what it's gonna be like because I'm filming this literally when I just start fishing. So I don't know what's gonna go on. Reaction baits, and then we'll just kind of adjust from there. And hopefully I can put some fish in the boat and entertain you guys for a little bit. So we're gonna give the spinnerbait a try for a little bit. We got a lot of wind, so the spinnerbait usually does really well in the wind. We also got a lot of submerged brush up shallow, which also is great for a spinnerbait. This spinnerbait that I'm using is the Ultra Minnow spinner jig mold spinnerbait that I pour myself. You guys have seen it on the channel a lot. It's my go-to spinnerbait. Love throwing this bait. Caught a lot of fish on it, even my PB. There we go. Got him. Got a little one. Wind-blown spinnerbait fish. Oh. Little guy. All right, well, that guy really jacked up my spinnerbait. That's the one bummer thing about using these light wire spinnerbaits like I do, is that they're not the most durable, but I think I get way more bites with them than I do with a heavier wire. You just got to bend it back. They're not going to last you forever, but they flat out get bit. There we go. There's another one. This is a better one. Better than the last one. Stay on there. This one just loaded up on it. It didn't really bite. Like the last one, you could definitely feel it bite. Get in the boat. There we go. That's a good post spawner. Little 2.5-er. Haven't been here very long. Got a couple of them already. Little skinny guy, but he's fattening up. That's why he's eating that blade. So far, so good out here with the old spinnerbait on this windy bank. We'll just run around and do this, and if we can keep getting bit, we might as well just keep throwing it. Don't leave fish to find fish, right? That's the old saying. Hey guys, I want to talk to you about Waterland Fishing Optics. Waterland makes polarized fishing sunglasses. They're made by fishermen for fishermen. They're going to cut down on that glare, help you see down in the water. It's the spawn in a lot of the country right now, so you guys can go get some of these sunglasses and be able to see those fish on those beds and maybe catch the biggest fish of the year. Head over to waterlandco.com, use discount code LUNA15, and it'll save you 15% off. There we go. Another one. Get out of the trees. Stay on, man. Another one on the old spinnerbait. Spinnerbait bites good right now. There we go. There we go. About to lose my rod. Losing it again. Come on. There we go. Not a giant by any means, but fun for a little afternooner. All right, guys, well, I would say that was a successful stretch bank. Pulled up on the bank, just started going with the wind, fishing all those trees, submerged cover and all that with the spinnerbait, and got 3 bites. They weren't big ones, but it was fun. Sometimes when you go fishing, it's not always about catching those giant fish. I mean, it's always fun to catch giants, don't get me wrong. But it's also fun just to go out and fish the conditions and get bit. There might be a better way to catch bigger fish out here, but obviously this is a way to go out there and get bit and have some fun out on the lake. Now, if this was a tournament, I might go, okay, there's a pattern when the wind's blowing. I might need to go find something else in order to try to get those 3 to 5 pound tournament quality fish. I caught one that was tournament quality on the spinnerbait already, but the other two were pretty small. We'd probably need to go out and figure out how to catch those post-spawn females. They might be on that next set of cover in a little bit deeper water. That's a lot of times what those females will do. You got the males up shallow, feeding on, you know, bluegill and stuff, protecting the fry. Then you have those females that are a little bit further out, a little bit deeper. You might be able to catch those doing something a little bit different. Maybe throwing a worm, maybe throwing a jig, maybe throwing a crankbait. There's a lot of different ways to catch them. But if it was tournament time, that's probably what I was gonna go out. What I would start doing now is trying to figure out, hey, can I do either the spinnerbait thing in another area of the lake, or is there a way to catch bigger fish more consistently? All right, guys, we're back home in the garage. The trip got super tough. I caught those 3 fish on the spinnerbait, and the bite just shut down for me. I did some jig head minnow stuff. I fished the spinnerbait in a few different areas, but it just wasn't happening. I think I just had that one area with all that wind blowing into it, and it had those fish active, and they were eating because of all that wind. So what I want to do is talk to you about the spinnerbait here for a second, because there's certain things that I found over time that really excel with the spinnerbait. So a couple of things that I think are really important when it comes to the spinnerbait is the rod, reel, and line setup that you have. Now, it doesn't have to be super specific, but I think there's a few things that you want to keep in mind. Now, if you're targeting close structure, you might want to go with a shorter rod than the one that I'm going to describe. But a lot of times what I'm doing is I'm making long casts with the spinnerbait and covering a lot of water. But if you're trying to pick apart laydowns, or you're trying to pick apart different exposed cover, you might want to go with a shorter rod. If you're fishing spinnerbait around docks or something like that, then you might want to have a shorter rod because your casting accuracy is going to be a little bit better. But what I like to use is the 7.3 medium heavy divine rod from 6th Sense. This rod allows me to cast a long way. The tip in the rod is great, and it allows those fish to eat the spinnerbait a little bit more before you have to set the hook. It allows them to actually get that bait. If you have too fast of a tip, I think sometimes you end up pulling that spinnerbait away from the fish before they actually eat the bait and get that hook in their mouth. Another thing that I think is really important when it comes to spinnerbait is your line size. You definitely don't want to go too light in your line size. I think with a spinnerbait you can get away with a heavier line size. I had 15-pound test on this. I think I'm going to start going up to 17-pound because I'm always fishing the spinnerbait around heavy cover. Very rarely am I just fishing this in open water situations. Now, if it's real windy and those fish are active, you can fish a spinnerbait in open water. But normally I'm fishing it around some sort of cover. A lot of times in my lakes, it's going to be exposed brush, submerged brush, and I want to hit that brush. I'm not throwing it into the middle of a bush and working it way out, but I'm trying to find little lanes where I can throw that spinnerbait, make accurate casts, work it through, ticking those branches as I come back. Those fish are going to be sitting in those trees. They're going to come up. They're going to eat that spinnerbait, and then I have the line size in order to pull them away from that cover. Now, I've been going with the 14-pound fluoro from K9 Fishing. That is a copolymer line, so it's going to give you a little bit of stretch, which is good with reaction base, and it's not expensive at all. And you can save on all your K9 Fishing line by using my discount code LUNA10. It's k9fishing.com, and my discount code is LUNA10. It'll save you 10% off. Give that line a try, guys. I think you're going to be happy with it. The Pro 100 is what I'm using for a lot of my dragging presentations, my jigs, my drop shots, my braid to leader on my spinning rod, stuff like that. So check it out, k9fishing.com. And then when it comes to the actual spinnerbait, guys, I'm using this Do It Molds Ultra Minnow Spinner Jig Mold with this 6th Sense Chartreuse White Flash Skirt, Gold Blade spinnerbait with a light wire. The light wire I think is key because it helps give off more vibration. I think that extra vibration also triggers bass. And when you have a light wire, you can also get a nice flex in your spinnerbait. And what I mean by the flex in the spinnerbait is when you start to reel it, these wires come together and it gives that flex, and it just makes things more realistic. It's not as rigid, and those fish just are gonna come and get it. I don't know what it is about the gold blades, but I'm a believer in gold blades, guys. I throw that all over the place and catch fish all over the place. Now, when it comes to the reel, this is a Daiwa Tatula CT 6.3-to-1 gear ratio. I really like the 6.3-to-1 gear ratio with my spinner baits because it allows me to be able to speed up that spinner bait, but it also allows me to really slow roll that spinner bait. I've found there's times where they want it a little bit faster, and there's times where they want it nice and slow. Fast enough to get those blades to actually turn and get that vibration, but nothing more than that. About as slow as you can possibly reel it while still getting that vibration out of your spinnerbait. And I feel like the 6.3-to-1 is right where you want to be. I think that this Daiwa Tatula CT is a great reel, especially for the price. Last time I checked, it's around $100. It's a great reel in that $100 price range. It might be $129, but it's somewhere in that range. I'll link it down in the description to Omnia Fishing. If you were to go out and get a spinnerbait setup like this one, you're also going to be able to throw chatterbaits on it. You could probably throw some Senkos on it. Other baits. This is a very versatile rod, but this is my go-to when it comes to spinnerbaits. Used to throw a lot of chatterbaits on this rod as well, but I've gone to a different ESP model from 6 Sense for those chatterbaits. Just has a little bit more of a softer tip in the front, and I feel like it gets just a little bit more vibration out of those chatterbaits. But this is a great spinnerbait rod. If you're going to be covering water, it's a great one. If you're doing some of that close quarter, very accurate cast with your spinnerbait, then you might want to go with something around that 7 foot to 6'11". Just helps you cast a little bit more accurately. I do have a rod for those situations. It's the 6'11" unicorn rod, and it just allows me to really pinpoint those casts. I bought it when I was going to Texoma, and we're going to be fishing a lot of docks. And when you're fishing around a lot of docks, you're going to need to be very accurate with those casts. So if that's something you do, you might want to go with a little bit shorter rod, like I said. Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed watching me out there, taking the conditions of the day into account. It was post front, which is usually not a great time for a spinnerbait or any reaction baits for that matter, but that wind made all the difference. It was probably the windiest bank on the entire lake, which is why I went with that spinnerbait and why I went there first. That whole area had active fish, but the rest of the lake was really, really tough. Even those fish out in the middle weren't setting up. They weren't wanting to eat that jig head minnow presentation, which is taking over everything in bass fishing right now. So sometimes just fish those conditions, pay attention to the lake, find those windy banks, and throw that spinnerbait, throw that reaction bait, and find those active fish. And guys, if you want to watch me make spinnerbaits just like this one, click on the video that's on the screen right now, and I'll see you guys in the next video. See ya.